Hey, welcome to the Salem Business Journal podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Peone, and with me I have Aaron Stickney. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Jesse. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah, no, of course. Before we get started, I do want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Collier Law and Compass Visuals for sponsoring the podcast. You guys have been with us since like day one, so thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Now, Aaron, it has been super nice getting to know you.
Likewise.
Yeah, and if you could just tell us real quick so that way people can understand who you are. What is the big project that you're working on here in town?
The Cannery, which will be a 383-unit multifamily rental complex at the old Cannery on Front Street. In addition to that, there'll be about 60,000 square feet of retail and restaurant space. And we're making it like if you picture a European village. So It's not going to be a monolithic apartment complex that you see all over the place. This is going to be very integral as far as it's 3 different buildings, but even those 3 different buildings are going to have different facade types to make it feel more like a village. And then in the back, we sit right on the Willamette River, which is fantastic. And
well, we don't have any areas like that right now.
No.
You know, where there's like restaurants or whatever, and then there's the river. Which is kind of crazy because we have a river going through the entire city.
Which is interesting because Salem, that's one of their greatest resources is the Willamette River, and it's 100% underutilized. I'm hoping that this is the catalyst that helps change that. We just got designated as an urban development zone, so that should unhandcuff us a little bit as far as what we can do by the river and what we can't, as well as other opportunities. We may not be able to take advantage of those phase 1, but phase 2, which will be another 400 units, we will. Just so the community knows, previous developer had a stadium set up for phase 2. We're not doing a stadium. Stadium doesn't pencil out. High traffic, huge opposition from the community. We're a very community-oriented development firm. We try to do positive impact projects that enhance the community. So we're not doing the stadium. We're going to be doing another 400 units and about another 70,000 square feet of retail and restaurants, all connected through this one walkway, which is going to be cobblestone. We put a lot of attention to detail on landscaping and lighting. On the first phase, from a culinary perspective, we're going to have a Michelin star Italian restaurant and winery in the old building, which is a 1914 building with outdoor seating overlooking the Willamette. And then to the right and left, there'll be additional restaurants of varying cuisines that basically will appeal to anybody's palate and price point. So just because we have one Michelin star doesn't mean that they're all going to be high priced. We're going to have something that's going to appeal to everyone across the board. And we want to make this a destination, not just an apartment complex. We're going to have open areas where we can, bring in musicians and have outdoor entertainment. We want this to be, again, more of a destination. So people even as far as Seattle want to come down and see what we've done.
I think that is quite a move. If you made a place where someone from Seattle was like, man, I really want to go see this in Salem, I mean, that changed Salem.
We're hoping we're going to be the catalyst that spins everything off.
One thing that I've mentioned quite a few times to people is when I talked with a lot of different real estate investors and business owners, a lot of times when they're trying to pitch Salem to other investors, a lot of times they'll say a line like this. They'll say Salem is the gateway to Oregon. We're an hour away from the beach. We're an hour away from the mountains. We're an hour away from Eugene. We're an hour away from Portland. And while that sounds kind of great, at first you're like, oh, you're only an hour away. What it really is kind of saying is you're an hour away from everywhere that you actually want to be other than here, And so, my pitch is, I've been trying to, focus on the music and mural stuff that I've told you about. And what I also love about what you're talking about is it's doing kind of the same thing of we want Salem to be the bride, not the bridesmaid.
Exactly.
Because if we make Salem a really cool place to live, we're still going to be an hour away from the coast, an hour away from the mountains, an hour away from Portland, and an hour away from Eugene. That's not going to go away. But we can also make this a dang cool place to be. And that's what I love about what you're doing.
Thank you so much. And that's what we're trying to do. One of the other changes that we're making to the original designs is that the restaurants in back, with the exception of the 1914 building, they didn't have rooftops. So all the other buildings are going to have rooftops to take advantage, again, of the wonderful Willamette view and what we're going to be doing with the landscaping to make this more of just an entertainment and just a great place to go hang out, enjoy the summers, enjoy the falls, enjoy, the great seasons that we have lately. Be able to be outdoors and have community, and it's gonna be really good. It's gonna be something that no one's seen in Oregon, not just Salem, but no one's seen in Oregon before.
That's awesome. I'm really excited for this. Now, when you were going through like the design, what was your inspiration for it? Like, was there another location, another city that you kind of based it off of, and then added to that? If I'm just walking down, let's just say I got me a hot date or something, and I'm walking down through the new upgraded Cannery. What's kind of the vibe? What's the feel going to be?
Well, I'll address the first part first. As far as what the inspiration was, my OTEC is our architect that's finishing the design. They asked me that question. Gary Riddick is my owner's rep, also an architect. He asked me the same question too. He says, what can you point to? And I says, I can't point to anything. It doesn't exist today. But what I can point to is 20 different architectural elements that are going to be encompassed in this project that have never been seen before collectively in Oregon. And we have to look at Oregon as a state. Oregon, what I'm trying to do is, the original design was more of a South of France mansard roof. Wasn't applicable to Oregon.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to create is something that's applicable to Oregon, but not just Salem, all of Oregon. And Oregon's so diverse. We have the grassy plains to the east. We got Bend with the high desert. We've got the mountains. We've got the coast. We've got Portland. We've got Salem. We've got all the different elements in between. So it's taking all the best of the best, the different images, which I had about 20. And I said, OTEC, this is it. This is the whole vision. This is what I want to see. So there's going to be, again, it's going to be more of a European village vibe.
Okay.
So it's going to be like you're in Europe, you're walking down a cobblestone street, you're seeing different facades. It's very intimate. It's open. It's a place as far as dating. If you want to take it, this is going to be a great place for everybody to take a date. Because one, you're going to have a multitude of culinary experiences to choose from, all that are going to be exquisite. Matt Leitner, who's a 2-time Michelin star chef holder, and was head chef at Altira in New York City, is my food consultant. And he's on the team.
How'd you get that guy?
Friend of a friend. It's all about connections.
Yeah.
So he's on the team, and he's going to help design something that we haven't seen before from a culinary standpoint, from an aesthetic standpoint, and bringing dates or bringing people or families. It's going to be that European village vibe where you just want to go and hang out and people interact and they have a good time, and there'll be people playing music, and you have the different venues that you can go to, and the sun's going down and you're on the river and it's beautifully landscaped. It's got the nice lighting, gives that great ambiance for either a date or a family outing. It's just something that hasn't been done before, that if we do it right is going to be the catalyst for Salem, because then it's going to be the other. I don't mind being first. One thing I don't have is fear. Lost that a long time ago. Fear, in my opinion, is the mind killer. It stops you. It paralyzes you from doing what you should be doing. And really, most of the time people have fear is because it's fear of what they don't know. And once you get past that, there's no reason to be fearful of anything. And that's where I'm at, and that's my mindset. So I don't mind being the first developer to come in and try to affect change. We can go into deeper that later. But I think this will be the catalyst that other developers are going to be like, okay, you know what? I want to jump in on this. This is fantastic.
For sure.
And then from there, I love, another thing I like to use, another analogy, is the ripple effect.
Yeah.
So we're the ripple. We're that one pebble, and then it ripples out. And not just Salem, but Kaiser, and then starts moving out farther in different directions. And then you get that vibe, that positive vibe that everybody grabs onto.
I don't know if I would use the word pebble. It's kind of like, because you're building it's 300 and how many?
The first is 383 units,
and
about
then the
150 million. Second one's 400 units and about another 150 million.
Okay, so about 800 units.
800 units, 300
on
million.
riverfront property.
Yes.
With retail and Michelin star restaurants and
Yes.
affordable restaurants.
Yes.
That's a lot more than a pebble. That's like, like when your kid or like a sibling will like grab a big rock when everyone's just chilling,
Right.
and then they just throw it into the water and it
Right.
splashes everybody.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna be a big splash.
It is. But I hope that after the splash, it continues to ripple out.
Yeah.
And then other people jump in.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that, is always hard about being the first, is it's kind of like you got to be the one to kind of figure it out, and it seems like just from even what I've heard from the previous people working on the project to even you working on the project, it seems like there has been and will be, some serious hurdles kind of along the way. How have you navigated that so far? And then what's kind of your thought process and how you're going to do it in the future?
Right now, we've pretty much mitigated most of the big hurdles. We have a gas valve line we got to relocate. Not a big deal. We're going to do a vault. We have a gape-in / retaining wall that we have to do. I'm using DCI, who's our structural engineer. We've come up with a solution for that. So that was another thing we mitigated. It's fine. The last thing is the railroad. We need a railroad agreement in order for me to pull a building permit. I can do demo, I can do foundation excavation. That gives me about 10 months. That's the time frame for those two things. Within that period, I have to get an agreement with the railroad in order to pull a building permit to then facilitate the project. And then that comes down to also who's going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Back a few years ago, there was federal money that got yanked. So now it's up to the city. The city currently, as we're all aware, and it's not a criticism, it just is what it is, doesn't have the funds.
Yeah.
So it's figuring how that's going to work, whether we come in and we pay for it and then we get reimbursed through some type of city program.
Does the city usually pay for things like that? Is that
yeah.
typical?
Typically it's a collaboration between private and public sector coming together and figuring out a plan. In this case, because I don't think the city would be able to contribute, we would be willing to take the brunt of it, but then just get reimbursed through whatever program the city came up with. I had conversations with the city. I think it's something that we can definitely work through, and and that's the final hurdle. Then from there, we're good. Phase 2 is not entitled yet, so we'd have to go through the entitlement process. We plan on doing that once we're done with building 1. So phase 1 has 3 buildings that sits on one large podium, which actually is an automated parking space underneath, which is pretty cool.
Interesting. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, question for you on this.
Sure.
Because you've done different real estate developments in other parts of the country, haven't you?
Yes. Silver Spur Capital is a national firm.
Yeah.
I'm a co-founder. My other partner is Josh Wagner. Our corporate headquarters is in New Jersey, where Josh lives, and then the West Coast side. Now current resident for the last year and a half for West Lynn. Don't plan on moving.
Yeah.
I'm going to build my compound there, and I'm staying in Oregon.
How do you like it out there?
Oh, absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Have you been to they have like this little food cart area where there's a bunch of outdoor food carts?
Yeah. Yes, that's in West Lynn, and then also in Oregon City on 15th or 14th Street, they have one too. So
I think that's the one I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I go between the two. The one in Oregon City, West Lynn has a smaller one that's on Willamette Drive. That's it's not as big as the Oregon City one, but it's still pretty cool. But I love those.
Yeah,
love that. But Silver Spur Capital, we focus on multifamily, data centers, and cold storage, and we have projects.
Multifamily, data centers, and cold storage. They seem very different.
They are. They're different pockets that we identified as good cash flow.
I see.
We used to do logistical warehouses. We did some self-storage. The self-storage markets got oversaturated. The warehouse market has pulled back on the logistics side quite a bit. Cold storage, data centers, and multifamily. Multifamily has always held strong throughout history.
Well, I was going to say the profitability, I think, on multifamily doesn't match the other two. I wouldn't think.
Actually, believe it or not, data centers is the best. If you do a data center, it's a little more complex as far as what's involved in doing it.
Yeah.
But if you do it, it is by far, from a revenue perspective, the best. The most rewarding is the multifamily if you do it where you're making a positive impact on the community. Anybody can build a multifamily. There's nothing. But the difference between a successful multifamily and an unsuccessful multifamily is how you integrate that multifamily into the community. Like if you just go build a multifamily on a corner and you've got nothing else, you're not going to do so good. You build a multifamily like we're doing at the Cannery, where you're integrating an experience, a destination.
Yeah.
You have all those different elements of live, work, play. I'll share that with any developer. That's the key. If you're not doing it that way, you're at a higher risk rate of failure than doing it the way we're doing it.
Dang. I like to hear that. That's cool.
Yeah.
How have you found how easy has the city been to work with so far?
Well, the city, again, we're entitled, and that goes back, I think it was 2024 when we got entitled. So it's been a bit, haven't had to have much interaction with the city. I have engaged with them recently for a number of different perspectives. One, just letting them know that, this project's revitalized, we're moving forward, we're planning on doing phase 2. But then also taking a deeper look and a deeper picture at what's going on in Salem. And so I wrote a white paper that basically laid out a plan for the city to generate another $12 to $34 million in revenue for the city in the next 5 years. And seeing how we're going to have a new mayor, I thought this was a great, timing's everything, a great opportunity to get that out there and get it out to the public as well, saying, listen, here's a plan. And it's not doing anything differently. It's taking underutilized city assets and making them a positive asset and generating more income for the city. Because in my conversations with the different members in different levels of the city, one common element always came up was lack of funds. We'd love to do this, don't have the money.
Well,
love to
I
do
feel
this,
like that's
don't have the money.
I feel like that's any government entity I've ever talked to. I think it's the same.
To a certain extent, but in this case, it's like, that's a great idea, but we don't have the revenue. So what I decided to do is, I have no problem. And again, I don't want credit for it. I'm not doing it to get any publicity. I'm not doing it, for any other reason that if the city of Salem does better as a developer, I do better. If the community does better, we all do better. It's an ecosystem that's tied tightly together. So there's not individual components that can exist by themselves. It has to be a collective. And once you realize that doing something like this makes sense for everybody. So I laid out a plan. It was like 15 pages of different things that they can do utilizing their current assets. I gave actual addresses.
I saw that.
Actually. Want to get it published. I got to do a little bit of a rework on it before it gets published, but I want to get that out to the public so that the public says, listen, this is a viable way for us to generate more money to make Salem better.
Yeah. Well, let's. We are going to publish that, and I'm very excited to do so. So
and thank you so much.
Yeah. No. Totally. Well, I think the biggest thing is one of the biggest reasons I, got into this business was, I was in college and just needed a project. And then, this kind of came across and I was like, well, I'm in business school, so I can learn how to run a business, and newspapers are kind of a dying industry, but, I figured, well, it'll probably fail, but, I just considered it tuition. And I learned by doing things. And, once you skip a few, and here we are. But the biggest reason was because I wanted to make a difference in the community. And if I could have a business where I can make a difference and get paid to do it, I mean, that's a great business to be in.
They say if you do something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I believe that. People have asked me, Aaron, when are you going to retire? And I said, when I stop breathing. And I said, even then it's questionable.
Yeah.
Because if I can do work from the other side, whatever that may be.
Oh, imagine.
There'll be signs.
Imagine. We wouldn't even have to sleep, Aaron. We could
just go at it. Because that's the thing. If you do something you're passionate about, it's not like working a day. I absolutely love what I do. I love taking something that wasn't there before and creating something that everybody loves. But here's the big flex. And I say this every time I get an opportunity to say this, is it's not what you create. It's not the material things that you put in place. It's the impact that you make on people is the legacy. How you can positively impact people is a bigger legacy than anything anyone could ever build.
Yeah.
And I think that's where this comes from. And that's why I do what I do, is I want to be a positive influence, a positive impact on the people around me, as well as the communities that I build in, and do something that's mutually beneficial for everybody. I'm a developer. Do I want to make money? 100%. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. But do I want to do it in a way that's different than most developers? Yeah. I want to do it in a way that positively impacts the community so that we're all benefiting from what is built, not just us as a developer.
Well, and what's interesting, right? When you look at, like, because I was reading through the white sheet, and like a lot of these things have nothing to do with your project specifically. It just has to do with things.
Not one.
Things that the city could do differently.
Yeah.
That would help generate some more revenue for the city's own budget. So these are things that like they could have done on their own without you.
Right? If they identified them, yes, 100%.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'm just trying to help them out and say, hey, here's a list of things that we do.
Yeah, I totally get it. Well, because with what you do, I mean, I bet you look at a lot of these things.
We do
from a different lens, and sometimes it helps to have someone's perspective who isn't in it. So, like, if I write an essay, right, I often would give it to a friend to look at because he's not the one who wrote it. So he's got a fresh set of eyes.
Right.
On the thing.
And we created an algorithm, and I think I might have shared this with you, that identifies emerging markets. So it takes 800 plus different data points, it crunches them, it's 100% data, no emotions whatsoever. We can enter any location in the world, honestly. We put in Salem, we put in Portland. If we get a 90% rating or better, then that's an area that's in a good position to invest in. In addition to that, we found that this algorithm we can use it on a ton of different things. So, and it's a data cruncher. So, for example, this white paper, put in some different information on Salem, and it'll tell me exactly the points just using data that exists on what could be done better. So it's, motion's completely taken out of the picture. It's all about, this is the data, this is what could be done better. And a lot of the cities and states, they don't have access to that stuff. Detroit's a good example. Detroit turned, everybody knows Detroit was in really, really bad shape.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, they found an anchor tenant, created 8,000 new jobs. Unemployment's down. They're going like this because they turned things around. One of the things that they did is they had, over 11 million or plus square feet of vacant office space. They converted it to multifamily and retail. Portland's in the same arena. Portland has 10.5 million square feet of vacant office space, and I did a white paper for Portland, Prosper Portland, which is their urban development group. I sent them a white paper as well.
How did they take it?
They're looking into it, and they took it under advisement, as I was told. So we'll see.
Do you think they're actually looking at it, or do you think it's?
I don't know. I think the guy that's in charge is very smart.
Yeah.
Is a great leader. I think he'll give it the once over, and I think if there's something he feels he can use, he will.
Yeah.
But just on the office space, if they converted that to multifamily and retail rather, that would really dramatically change the landscape of Portland, because it would, one, create additional foot traffic, which then gets back to, and with the multifamily gets back to that work, live, play.
Yeah.
Which is what Salem needs as well. And Salem has more assets than Portland does that are underutilized. I want to, clarify that. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see the fact that so far I've gotten a great reception from Salem and from the city as far as the white paper. We'll see where that goes, and I hope that at least one good change comes out of it.
Yeah.
If I get one good change, it was a win. It was worth doing.
Well, I think that the reason I was asking, if you really think they looked at it, just because I think there's a lot of people, and I think our city specifically has really good leadership. They've proven over the last year, even when they were butting heads, they would still come together in the meeting at the end and work together on stuff, which I think is pretty unique. A lot of places won't do that. I've been on a lot of boards,
especially nowadays.
Yes, and so the fact that our city councilors were willing to do that, props to each and every single one of them.
100%.
For having that kind of character.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I was kind of pointing out, do you think they really understood it, is because I think in Oregon as a whole, it's been moving one direction for the last 40 years, for the most part. It's been kind of a one-party ran system, which, I don't care which party runs things, right? I just care about balance and,
I'll comment on that in a second.
Yeah. And so, but, because it's kind of been, strong-armed by one team, kind of running the show forever, a lot of times, like, you'll have some bad policies that come up. For example, like IP28, the one about animals. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
That's like came up this year. That makes no sense as far as like banning hunting and fishing. Like, I'm Native American. That's like our whole culture, you know? And so we're not allowed to hunt and fish, but we're allowed to go to buy Tyson meat, which is factory farm meat of animals that were abused in a factory farm. That's okay. But it's not okay to, you know, like there's a bunch of things like that.
Yeah, that don't make sense because they're coming from people that don't understand how things work.
Yeah, well, and that's the result of no balance.
Right.
You know, is, you know, people thinking that, oh, I can do everything, or everything I say is gold.
Right.
And then, you know, you get policies that aren't as good. And so I think that looking at a lot of Oregon cities, you know, they've been kind of high on the hog for a long time and thinking that everything they do is gold, which is the way Portland was going. And so my point of that being, it's kind of like if you have a kid that's a drug addict and, you know, they're living the life for a while and then they don't realize that they're a drug addict, you know?
Until they do.
Yeah. And then there's nothing that you can say or do to get them to change. Like, there's all you can do is you can let them know once, like, hey, dude, like, I'm really worried about you. You know, you're not doing well. We love you. This is hurting. It hurts us to be around this. But like, until they have to want to change, you know, and until they have that desire, that fire in their belly to change and become better, they're going to stay on the drugs. Right. And so my point of this is, if you look at Portland, Oregon versus Vancouver, Washington, right? Vancouver 10 years ago was a dump.
Yep.
I mean, a couple of Vancouverans.
We have a project. We have a project in Vancouver as well. So yes, I'm very familiar.
Yeah, and so like I've been up there a lot too, just because, you know, I'm young and, you know, that's a much better place to take a date than Portland. And
currently,
it's you know, it's safer. The people are normal. Yeah. It's clean. I'm not worried about
wide variety
stabbed.
of great restaurants.
Yeah, great restaurants.
Yeah. The riverfront is outstanding.
Yeah, and when you walk down the street, you can feel it. You can feel
the vibe, feel the energy.
And there's a desire to be better, to be good, to be happy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a completely different vibe than you walk like downtown Portland.
Right. Portland is getting better.
Yeah.
It did. I shared this in another speaking event that I did. Portland scored 80 out of 80 recently in worst places to invest. Now, a lot of people would say, okay, you know, that's awful. Don't, you know, what that is, that's an entry point.
I agree.
Like that's an entry point. And if they do the right thing, and that's another reason why I want to get these white papers published, Salem as well as Portland, and get it out. I want the public to be aware of what could be done so that they can hold the people in power, you know, to the line saying, hey, listen, here's a plan that's been laid out for you. You can use some of this, you know? And then as far as like political affiliation or whatever, I tell everybody I'm purple. Okay. Yeah. I'm not blue. I'm not red. I'm in the middle. I just want to see what's best for not only the cities, but for the country in general.
Yep.
I think, you know, I would love to see us go back to the Reagan years where they didn't get along, but they always found a way to work together.
Yeah, even Clinton did.
Yeah,
you know,
Clinton by far.
Yeah.
You know, I'll say this on the record, my favorite president. That guy had, you know, granted, you know, he made his mistakes. They all do.
For sure.
And the mistake he made in today's realm is absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But he had charisma. He found a way, you know, even if you didn't like him, you couldn't not like him.
Yeah.
Just because he just had the panache. He just had that charisma. He had that energy that you just were like, I don't agree with you, but I kind of get the point. So we'll find a way to work together. And he was able to do that.
100%. One, the thing beyond the charisma, right, is the willingness to work with anybody. His goal was kind of like you and I have talked about, where my goal is this objective. Yeah. I'm trying to get this objective done. How can we get
what do we need to do to get there? I don't care what side of the fence you're on. What do we need to do to get there? And he always did it in a way that was professional and polished. He never insulted anybody. He never put anybody down. He never called anybody, you know, in today's realm. He didn't call anybody names. It was just professional. And, you know, if they came to a point where they disagreed, they agreed to disagree. But then they came back to say, well, okay, how do we cross that line so that we can come to a mutual agreement? You know, and I think that's part of what we're missing today, which is why I want to get some of these papers published, because then it's out in the public. Now the public can hold their city officials that they elected accountable to make change, because they have a plan.
Well, and I mean, I think that wraps in perfectly to, you know, kind of what I was going to say about Salem is I think we have the opportunity, because I tell people all the time, we can't control the country.
Nope.
So why stress about it? You know, the state, I can't control the whole state. Not going to stress about it. We have a little bit of push just because, we've been
Yeah.
working at this for so many years.
And you're the capital, so.
Yeah. But like our little community, we do have a say in that, and we can have influence here. And so we can choose to be different. We don't have to be like everybody else, and we can choose to be better, right? That's what Vancouver did.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? We want to be better.
And
then they became better.
Yeah.
You know?
Again, ripple effect.
Yes.
Starts, in this case, it would be a pebble. Starts small and ripples out. But you gotta start. You gotta start locally. Then it expands, and then eventually statewide, and then hopefully from there, maybe the other states take it and say, "Wow," because right now Portland's at the bottom of the realm. We'll take Salem out. Salem actually is doing better. Portland's at the bottom.
Yeah.
So if Portland does well and succeeds, Salem does well and succeeds. If you're any other state and you're not doing well, you're going to be like, well, what did they do that we're not doing? And then that's how the effect happens. People start to inquire. People start to do research. People, try to say, all right, these cities were at the bottom. Now they're doing great. What are we not doing that they were doing?
Yeah.
And then that's how it expands out across the country.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, one issue, I do agree with you. I do think Salem's doing a lot better. I think we're doing a lot better in the aspect of, last year, our city, because I think there's a big mistrust in the city right now. So like even with your white paper, right, there's a pretty big mistrust of our confidence in the city utilizing our dollars well. Why? Because this last year, our new city manager, she is killing it. She's very good at her job. And I believe our city council is doing a great job as well. I mean, she found just instantly, like right when she became city manager, there was like all of a sudden, I think it was like $17 million in addition to the budget. So there's like, even if it wasn't 17 million, let's just say I'm wrong, and let's just say it was
whatever it was,
5 million.
It was more than they had before.
Instantly, without changing any big policy things, there was $5 million found, which means the previous city managers was not doing his job, right? And so that's just, it is what it is. There's no feelings. I don't know the guy personally, but it just shows that like
something slipped, whether it was his fault or not. Something wasn't accounted for that should have been accounted for.
Yes,
and
which causes mistrust.
100%.
Right? It's like, if I borrow something from you and I'm like, oh, sorry, dude, I lost it.
Yeah.
Then like, are you gonna lend me $5 million again?
No.
Yeah. It's so
not gonna lend you $1.
Yeah. And so in our community, like with that having happened, there's a little bit of mistrust in their ability to do things well.
And here's the thing: once trust is lost, 2-3 times the effort to get the trust back.
Yes.
Generally, with me, use my trust. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
No matter what you're ever gonna do, I'm never gonna be to that place where I trusted you again.
Yeah. Well, have you heard about the Chariots thing?
No.
Okay.
Please.
Oh, let me tell you. So let me tell you a tale, because it is going to affect this, because anything that the city does to help increase revenue, right, there's going to be pushback. Because our community, for example, there's just been taxes after taxes. We said yes to a city bond. We said yes to Shemeketa last year. And a lot of people said yes to these things, even though it was a push. But because they're like, Shemeketa does do a great job at utilizing dollars well.
This is one of the reasons why I want the white paper out there, is because if you follow this plan, it'll generate revenues so you don't have to increase taxes.
Yes.
So please continue.
Oh, yes. And, after that came out, then all of a sudden Chariots told us, now there's a history to this that I'll tell you in a minute, but all of a sudden Chariots sent out a survey to a bunch of people across town. And then just asking them, like, if we had extra money or whatever, what would we do with it? And then there's a couple people being like, why are you asking me this? And then we find out that in 2017, so that was the year that I got elected, I was 21 years old, right? And that was my first time into the world. So from 21, now I'm 30, right? And we're just now hearing that this is happening. Apparently there was an agreement back then between our Chamber of Commerce at the time and the Chariots board to give Chariots the ability to increase taxes without a vote of the people.
Oh,
yeah. And so that was with the projection of everything going well in the future, right? But then, of course, skip forward, and now the economy's kind of tight. People are kind of struggling. Oregon already has high taxes, one of the highest tax rates.
Actually, the highest, I think.
I think it is the highest. I just didn't want to.
Yeah, no, I would feel strong enough going on record saying it is the highest. And generally, when you have a failing economy, that's the first thing that they try to do from the city level is to increase taxes because they don't know what else to do.
Yes, and so in a time when people are already hurting, they're already struggling, and Chariots all of a sudden comes out, hey, we're gonna, and in fact, right, even after that, get this, we elected a new mayor. One of the biggest reasons Julie Hoy was elected was because of the pushback against the payroll tax. So our previous mayor he had his own idea of pushing a payroll tax, which wasn't popular, and they tried to push it through without a vote of the people again. See a common thread here. And then people pushed back, like, no, it went to a vote of the people, got voted down. We ended up getting a new mayor in, right? And then after that, Chariots is like, hey, we're going to be doing this tax, which ends up being about the same amount as that original tax that we elected a new mayor over. And so it'll be about the same amount per person that we elected a new mayor over because people didn't want to pay it. And so there's been a lot of people trying to pass additional taxes and extra fees on people.
And that's
they're not
again,
having it.
Yeah, no, and it's not the answer.
Yeah.
Again, going back to what I came up with, even if you take everything else out of the white paper that I put in there, because it's a good read.
Yeah.
Just the assets that Salem has that are underutilized, that alone could generate enough income to really turn things around without doing anything. Salem just has to not sell any of their assets, do ground leases, a number of different things, increase the parking revenues, which I think they just passed something where they're gonna start doing that. But they have to do it gradually too. So as Salem's economy increases, you increase the parking revenue.
Yeah.
Because their parking revenue.
Well, that's the one that kind of came to my top of mind.
Way behind the times.
Well, we just implemented paid parking.
I know.
Downtown.
I just heard that. I
And
was in another meeting. I just heard that.
That was wild.
Yeah.
Just so you know, it was a crazy thing around here.
Yeah.
And
the thing is that people have to realize public parking, you have to pay for public parking.
Yeah.
I'm coming from New York City. Like the idea of free parking, is such a foreign concept to me. Typically, we'll pay $50 even if you're there for an hour.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's insane. Well, and it's a different element.
I'd ride my horse downtown.
Yeah, but the point being is that the city has enough viable assets that are underutilized that they could use to really turn things around. And raising taxes shouldn't be the default switch that they use to correct a fiscal problem.
Yeah. Well, and by finding these other ways to do it, we can increase the economic pie.
Yeah.
And that is our way out of our budget issue. Growing the economic pie. And
bring in one
pushing.
huge anchor tenant like Detroit did. Detroit brought in Rocket Mortgage, brought 8,000 jobs to Detroit, increased everything else from there. That was the catalyst for Detroit that offset everything. Salem can do the same thing. But what Salem has to realize is they have to reinstitute the outreach program that they had before. That since post-COVID they haven't really done anything with it. Mm-hmm. Is you can't wait for companies to come in. You can't wait for developers to come in. You've got to do an outreach to the developers, to the anchor tenants, to the big name people to come to Salem and tell them why they should be coming to Salem and go to meetings across the country at different things saying why Salem right now is an ideal place to get in and pitch it and sell it.
Honestly,
that's what they need to do.
Yeah, when I was doing interviews with a lot of the gubernatorial candidates, I was talking with Chris Dudley, and that's one of the things that I really liked that he talked about was being able to be a salesman for the state, essentially, right? But we could do the same thing for the city.
Oh no, you could. It's all interlinked.
Yeah.
So you have the state side, and then you got the individual cities, but they can all use the same model, and Salem should, Portland should, some of the other cities that need to be revived throughout Oregon need to. I'll mention one other thing before I know we're going to be running out of time.
Yeah.
Lapine.
Yep.
So Lapine's in the process of passing a moratorium on data centers, which I think is one of the stupidest things that they could ever do. Reason being is they're using a 10-year-old model. Mm. There isn't a huge amount of water consumption with data centers. They can be off-grid. We do off-grid power. So we're producing.
There's a lot of it. Could we do a podcast just on data centers?
Oh, we could. We do that another time.
Yeah.
I'll do a brief clip on that, but I'm happy to come back on data centers and then energy, off-grid energy, or what we call behind the meter.
Okay.
So, like in Lapine, one area that needs to be revitalized. A data center would dramatically improve the economy as well as the lifestyle in the area for the people that live there.
Yeah.
and realizing that data centers don't consume a ton of water. Everything's closed loop system now.
Did they used to?
Yeah, the 10-year-old model used to consume 100. Like, that's what I'm saying. Most of the municipalities are using a 10-year-old model, not the current model.
I see.
The current model, no water consumption. They're using closed loop system, submersed chips or glycol or some other element, so where there's no water needed to cool the chips. The other thing is we're not connecting to the grid anymore. We're doing off-grid power behind the meter. So if anything, that's a benefit to the community because any surplus energy can be pumped back in, so they have more power than they did before.
Interesting.
If you use a hydrogen fuel cell, that produces distilled water, which then the city can use because the data center doesn't need it because they're on a closed loop system. But like on a 1 gig hydrogen fuel cell plant produces 62,000 gallons of water per hour, 24/7, which then could go back, for fields, for whatever the city would want to use it for. So my thing is that, the city's got to really look at what the current model is for each thing they want to put a moratorium on, because what La Pine's going to be doing is shooting themselves in the foot. Yeah. But happy to talk about data centers on another podcast.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's totally. I feel like that's going to be a very in-depth conversation.
Yeah, it's very complex.
Yeah,
but it's good, and it is the wave. It's not going away.
Yeah. Well, something that I really want to touch on is homelessness. So this is one of the topics where when I go to Portland, I have seen a change in Portland. Actually, kind of for the better, to be honest.
100%.
Yeah. And in Salem, it kind of feels to a lot of people like it's gotten worse. And so,
I would agree. I would say I was here 6 months ago. I think it's gotten better in the last 6 months. I believe there's been some things that have been done. Like if I were to compare the amount of people I saw on the street 6 months ago to now, I would say that it's reduced dramatically.
Yeah.
Is there still an issue? Yes.
Yep.
What's the answer? Here's the key on that. It's not one answer, because it's a multi-tiered, multi-phased issue.
Yeah.
It's not one thing fixes all, because it doesn't. You've got a number of different people in this group of what we'll call homeless or houseless. 5 to 10% of them are predators, bad people that just need to go to jail. They can't be reformed. They're preying on the other people that don't have choices in these camps. They're becoming like, The Walking Dead. I'll use Negan as an example. They're becoming Negan
with his bat,
with Lucy. They're becoming the Negan, and then people are intimidated to do anything. So that's one element. So that's 5 to 10%. The remainder are people that have fallen on hard times, don't have resources to do something else, want to do better, but don't have an answer. They need the resources, the help, the housing to then work themselves, save some money, get a job, or get the resources to get a job to get to the next level. The final group, and there's probably multi-layers between these, but these would be my 3 top groups, are the people that need mental help.
Yes.
So, they're either homeless by choice or not by choice, but there's some mental issue that's going on that they need the resources just to be mentally better.
Well, yeah, like they don't have the ability to take care of themselves.
No, they don't, and they don't understand, like, some of the stuff that they're doing is just a mental incapacity, or they need the help, whether they're bipolar, whether they're on an addiction that or a drug that then affects some other issue because they're taking the drugs. It exasperates their mental condition. They just need help to sort through all that to be functioning members of society. But that's another level and another treatment that could be set up where there's a facility that's kind of like a rehab, but a rehab with mental health specifically for that group of people. Yeah,
well, and that's one. So I would agree with you on the fact that, like, when you kind of divvy up, because I don't know if you knew this, I was homeless when I was younger.
I'm aware.
And that's something that, like, when I was there, you kind of see a lot of the characters that are out there. And I tried my best not to associate with a lot of people because I didn't want to be there. But what I kind of noticed was, there's a group of, first thing I will preface is some of these people were the kindest people I've ever met. Like one time I had a guy, he was dressed kind of like a wizard and he had a big old stick. And I don't think I've ever shared this story before. Yeah, let's just go down this rabbit hole for a second and then I'll get to my point. I was like, I was sleeping in an elevator and I wanted to get a job. I didn't want to be on the streets. I was like, I was applying everywhere and I kept getting turned down. And now looking back, I realized I probably smelled a little funny and I was probably a little dirty. And but what was interesting is several of the retail stores in the mall, I later learned, were using my resume as an example for other people to do resumes, and yet none of them hired me. I was ticked. But anywho, so this Gandalf guy, I needed better clothes, and this Gandalf guy told me that he's like, "Whoa, oh, come with me, I'll take you," and then he showed me how to use the bus system without paying. I don't think they can get me anymore.
No,
The statute of limitations.
I think you're good.
Yeah.
Think you're good.
But so we hopped on the bus and we went all the way across town to Portland, to this Goodwill that, gave me a shirt and a tie. And they gave me some job things, but like none of them hired me. So I was like, what's the point of this? And I was taking buses everywhere to just not get hired all the time. And so then I just went business to business to business until I got one. But my point was, that guy spent his entire day showing me around. And later I found out, because I didn't know about all the services. I didn't know you could go get food. I don't know, toughened through it.
Yeah.
But later I found out, when I reflect back on it, that guy spent his whole day doing that. So like he missed his meals at Salvation Army or stuff to help me, and went all the way across town to help me.
Not even all the way across town, all the way to Portland.
Yeah.
That's a hike.
Oh, I was in Portland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I used to, do you know where Pioneer Place is?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Buffalo Wild Wings that used to be right there, now it's Side Hustle.
Yeah.
So catty corner to that, in that parking garage, I lived in that elevator for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was fun. But yeah, so we went across town. It was a whole day trip. It was a whole adventure. And he spent an entire day just to help some guy he would never see again maybe get a job.
Yep.
And then how many people would do that for somebody?
Not too many.
Yeah.
Especially in his situation.
Yeah. And so
that shows the type of character that he has, and why I say that it's not a one thing fixes all, because there's a number of layers and complexities to why people are homeless / houseless. And understanding that, and I think that everybody should just pause for a moment and think about, if they were put in that situation, they didn't have any resources, had no one else to reach out to, had no money, and what most people would not survive. And that's the hard truth of it. So for a moment, just put yourself in there, in the position. And granted, each position is a little bit differently, like I said, but for the majority, they just need good resources, like you did at the time.
Yeah. Well, I was mad.
An opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is
I just wanted someone to give me a chance.
Yep.
And I was like, if you give me a chance, I can run with it. And I have since. The second I got it, I got traction, and I haven't looked back. And but a lot of people, I'm also aware, a lot of people don't get that. You know what I mean? And you can't.
A lot of people don't want to. That's the other thing too, is most of the people, they're so busy with their day-to-day stuff and their businesses or their work or whatever it is, their family. I mean, life's complex now, and they want to think about someone that's homeless? The honest answer is no, they don't.
Yeah.
And that is the unfortunate part.
Yeah. But at the same time, there are a bunch of them who, a good chunk of them, who are using drugs. And that is a very common thing.
Another issue, and it's because they've gotten to the point where they're broken.
Yeah.
And or the other thing is, a lot of vets, a lot of people that have, or not even vet, just people in the trades that had a traumatic injury and got put on opioids, and then from there can't afford it, and then what do? And then they go to heroin. That's the route, and it's all because of pain. Even like a lot of the wrestlers had really bad injuries, ended up being drug addicts because of the pain. So and the solution, again, treatments. That's a whole another level. Just treatment and mental health. And some of it, the drug addicts don't need mental health. They're okay. Yeah. I think counseling is good for everyone, but it's more of a drug issue, and how to get off that. So methadone clinics, whatever, but ones that actually work. Ones that don't just clean you and then release you back to the wild. That there's a follow-up, that there's stuff to help so that people don't relapse.
Yeah, for sure. Well, do you think that there's anything just from what you've looked at, or do you have an algorithm for?
I haven't run that through the algorithm yet. I don't want to burn it out. I think that's a big lift on that one, just
Yeah.
because there's so many. Here's the thing with the algorithm: you have to ask it the right questions. You have to put in the data as far as what you want.
Yeah.
So you have to be very specific. Otherwise, you're going to get a completely different outcome.
Yeah.
So on that particular subject, there's so many different nuances to it that I think you would have to dissect each one on its own and not as a collective.
Well, do you think that there's anything policy-wise that the city could do,
Oh,
or
100%.
as a community that we could do?
Oh,
to
100%.
help with this.
100%. One thing we're doing, and I'm not going to mention the name because I don't want it out there, but
Yeah.
there's someone in town that has an outreach program that needs funding. We're gonna fund that from our development side out of our own pocket, just because we feel that it will help ultimately for the Cannery project.
Yeah.
But I think the city could change some of the policies. I think they could deploy more money to what's going on. I think they should also take a bigger look into, and I'm not sure who regulates this, so if I speak off a little bit, forgive me.
Yeah.
But the nonprofits, there's a few nonprofits in the area, I'm not going to say any names, that aren't operating the way that they should. They're operating as a self-interest and not as the interest that they're supposed to be set up for,
Yeah.
which is to help the homeless.
Yeah.
So I think looking into that and correcting that.
Are you referring to like how a lot of people will refer to like the homeless industrial complex?
Yeah.
Like basically the idea is that there's a lot of nonprofits that gain their revenue from people being homeless and helping them, but then they don't make revenue if they actually solve the problem. So it's kind of like the idea of like cancer, right? If someone cured cancer, people always say that all the drug companies would kill them because they can't make money from cancer being cured.
It's same thing.
Yeah.
There's set up programs that actually work and address it. And again, as we had talked, it's a multi-leveled thing. So how the city does that, we've offered from the development side and from the private sector, like if there's additional beds that are needed, if for whatever reason it's a bed issue. Now I've heard, and this would be a much longer conversation, so I won't dive into it too deeply.
Yeah.
But I've heard the city's point of view. I've heard other people's point of view as there's enough beds, there's not enough beds. What the truth is, I don't know. I haven't done enough research on it yet. But
the people who are talking about how there's enough beds, I know quite a few of them, is they also include the Union Gospel Mission and a couple of the faith-based ones. And you can't include those because they will reference the fact that some of those have empty beds as there's more than enough beds, because obviously those aren't being filled. And they're correct on that. But at the same time, a faith-based one, while like, I have my own personal beliefs, right? But you can't include that or force people to go into those. You know what I mean? Because they're
right. So then that's the loophole, and that's probably what they're referring to.
Yeah,
not realizing that you can't count those, because my point is the police really get handcuffed if there's,
because the police can't take them to the faith-based ones. I don't think.
And I think that's exactly what the issue was.
Yeah.
So what we've offered is, if the city needs more beds, if the city has a piece of land, let's joint venture. You put up the land, we'll build the complex to give you more beds to address the problem. That would be one thing to do. Uncuffing the police would be another thing. You do that by having available beds.
What do you mean by that? Like just reinforcing camping bans
yeah,
and stuff?
Yeah. My understanding is, and if I'm wrong, I apologize to whoever's listening to this, but my understanding is that the police can't get them out or make them move if there's no beds available.
Yep.
If there's beds available, then the police are essentially unhandcuffed and can say, you have two choices. You can go to the bed or you can go to jail. And I think that's, and I'm trying to hard line it, but I think in some cases that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
One, because you have the predators that need to go away. And then two, you have the people that actually want help, that just need to know they can get help and have a place to go.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like saying, hey, it's not punishing people for being homeless, just saying, and a lot of European countries do this actually, where like you don't see as many homeless on the streets because you can't camp on public property. Right. And you have to go sleep in a bed, but there's the beds available.
Right.
And so that kind of seems like what you're
I think
referring
that,
to.
exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest things that could be done. All that's done, I don't know. I'm hoping that it's a public-private partnership, because then again, it's an ecosystem. We correct the homeless problems. That's one of the greatest things that we could do for Salem. that will make people want to come back in. Because right now, people don't feel safe. People are actually taking jobs outside of Salem, even if they live here, because they don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And to not feel safe in where you live as a community, how do you expect it to thrive?
Yeah. Well, and another thing that I think with the housing one, if we do that, right, I don't think it's Salem's burden to bear to solving the homeless problem for the state.
No.
Because what will happen, it feels like, is other cities will have their people start coming down here because typically people will migrate to wherever there's resources.
Right.
And so if we become the place where all the resources are, we're the only one building the housing and investing in solving the homeless issue, whereas other cities aren't. They're just pushing them off to us.
And I think there's a way to deal with that. And I'll use West Lynn and Lake Oswego as an example.
Yeah.
You don't see any homeless in West Lynn or Lake Oswego ever. So what are they doing differently that can't be implemented here? And that's a question that I would pose to the local government.
What are they doing? Do they ship them? What are they?
I don't know. I don't know because I've never seen a homeless person in either area. Actually, when I first moved back,
Which is weird because there's more money there, so you would think.
when
like
I first moved back to Oregon, West Lynn was at my house for about a week. I had to go back to my house to grab something quick. I saw one homeless guy walking up towards where my house was. So I'm on the way up, ran in my garage, got whatever I got, came back out. By the time I came back out, and we're talking like less than 5 minutes, there was already a West Lynn police, had him in the back of the car, and was taking him out of city limits.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's how they deal with it. But all I know is I've been there a year and a half, going on 2 years. That's the only homeless person I've ever seen.
Wow. Interesting.
And I've been all over there, and Lake Oswego.
Yeah.
Poli Taco is one of my favorite places to go. Never see any homeless.
Yeah.
So my point to that is they're doing something, and there's no reason it can't be done in Salem, can't be done in Portland.
Yeah.
Obviously, those are bigger cities, but it's working. And I don't think those are the only two examples in Oregon that are, it's probably working in.
Mm-hmm.
So something's being done. It'd be interesting to see. Maybe I'll go spend some time at West Lynn Police and ask them.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see that.
I'll give you some feedback if I do.
And then if it is just them shipping them out here, then the conversation maybe should shift to, okay, well, y'all need to build some housing too. The same, so we develop a system that will build some here. Also, Tigard should build some. They're right off I-5.
Well, I think
all these other cities.
Ripple effect.
Yeah, all these other cities need to do the same thing.
And address it.
Yeah, because then it's like if we have enough beds, it makes it easier to enforce the no camping ban. Right? And then, because then we could say you have a nice bed to go to.
Yeah.
You can't.
And I think that the no camping ban's a city thing, but then you have state grounds and state.
ODOT.
Okay. There's one of those that they can still camp there, which is crazy to me. There should be no camping across the board.
Yeah.
On public area.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, the biggest reason I would say is because I think there would be an argument to be made, and I think the city could, but I've heard from quite a few people that where are they gonna go, which is a valid question.
And not to seem heartless.
Yeah.
Not our problem.
Yeah.
You can't camp. And the reason I say
Fair.
reason I say that is that a lot of them, and I've had disagreements with city officials on this as well. Most of the homeless in Salem aren't from Salem.
I actually would agree with that, and this is one that I get pushed back on. But like when I was in college, I used to go back when we had a Subway downtown. I used to go to Subway. I'd get a foot long, and I'd go. Split it with someone. I would just use the excuse of, hey, I can't finish this. Would you mind sharing the sandwich with me? And then I'd sit down and have a conversation with them. And, I've continued to do that today just without, the sandwiches. And what I found, from a lot of these conversations of just talking to people and seeing them as a human is there's so many that aren't from around here. Now, when they use the number 85% of homeless, I think it's the way they define homeless, right? Because when they say homeless, it also includes couch surfers, and people who don't have a place but they are staying at friends' houses.
Yeah, see, no.
I think that number gets used a lot.
Yeah, and that's not accurate
because those people are from here. Yeah, because they'll go stay at people's
but they're
stuff.
staying in someone's house, whether it's on a couch or whatever.
Yeah, but when we're talking about people on the street,
we're talking about people on the street, in the parks, under the bridges.
Yeah,
that's what I refer to as homeless.
Well, and I've had conversations with people within this sphere because I've been involved in this kind of sphere of homelessness for the last 10 years. And from some people who are also involved in it, because I kind of dipped because nothing was getting done, and I like to get things done, and it was frustrating. But I've had some conversations with people about this exact topic, and they've even said, like, low key, yeah, I feel like a lot of them aren't from here, and yeah, but then at the same time, so that's one thing. I do agree with you on the fact that I think a lot of the ones on the street aren't from here. But I think ours are also probably going other places too.
Yeah, and it's a whole thing. So what's the answer? I have no idea.
But then what do you do? Because, like, for example, when I was what, between the ages of 14 to 17. I was a bunch of different places, and so, like, what would I have done when I was 16 and I was or 17 and I was in an elevator in Portland? Where would I have gone if that was? I wouldn't know. I'm just thinking back. I don't know what I would have done, to be honest.
Yeah.
I ended up getting a gym membership to 24-hour fitness. In fact, you want to hear the story? It's kind of funny.
Sure, if we got time.
I got like a little part-time job at a sunglass store, and I saved up a little bit of money, and I got a $30 a month membership to 24-hour fitness, the cheapest rent I've ever paid. I would sleep in the bathroom stall in the locker room because what are you gonna do? Tell me I'm not pooping? And it was super uncomfortable, but I needed a place to stay. And it was better than the elevator.
Yeah.
And so
that's actually brilliant.
Yeah, but, like, obviously that's not a working model, so don't do that. But
Yeah.
but I would say that, like, it was innovative at the time.
No, that's brilliant. $30 and it's 24/7.
Yeah, I can work out.
You paid you $30. You are legally allowed to be there 24/7.
Yes,
Paid you $30.
exactly.
You found a loophole.
Yeah, I did find a loophole, but we can't fit all homeless people in 24-hour fitnesses.
And I mean, as it relates to that, and I don't mean to sound heartless saying it's not our problem. I think it is all of our problems to do something. But again, it's that multi-level thing. Not one solution fixes all the problems because there's so many different nuances to the whole homeless situation. Providing housing. I think the biggest things we can do is provide housing and provide resources to help them become more productive members of society, or at least get them to a place where they're off the street. Yeah. If we do that, we can do that across the board, then it doesn't matter. Then I think, and then even, I mean, to your point, okay, when people go where the resources are, maybe that's a good thing in a way, as long as they don't eat all of our resources, but, but then you're churning productive members of society using the resources on a program that works. I think that's a win for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. Well, again, one quick thing before we go. What are a couple, you were talking about some of the restaurants.
Yes.
Now, do you have like some teasers of what you're kind of thinking for the restaurants in the Canary before we take off?
Yes, I do. We'll leave with that. It's a great place to leave. Me being a foodie, I love talking about food. So my friend, Matthew, the Michelin star chef, he's going to hook us up with an Italian restaurant for the 1914 building. So that'll Michelin star Italian with a winery component to it. Aside from that, looking at a sushi, so an Omakase 8-seat sushi place similar to do a throw out to Nimblefish, Cody and Dwight. We'll do like a sushi place, and then there's I'll probably have an Indian place, Spanish, definitely Spanish tapas, but then also Mexican, different. And a burger place, definitely a New York style pizza place where you can get a slice that's a New York style slice.
No way.
Yes, way. That's one of my own. And a sandwich place, a really good sandwich place. And then some other things. Matthew's going to help me do all the programming on it. So there's going to be something there for everybody. There's something, whether it's date night, whether it's family night, whatever it's going to be. There'll be something there for everyone to have a wonderful time.
Dang, I love good food, so I'm excited for that.
Jesse, thanks again for having me. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity to discuss the project as well as some of my other crazy ideas. And
of course. Hey, I love a good crazy ideas. Thank you for sharing.
And looking forward, we'll do another podcast. We'll talk about data centers.
Yep, let's do it.
All right.
All right, guys. Good. Thank you so much for listening to the Salem Business Journal podcast. Again, thank you to Collier Law and Compass Visuals for sponsoring. Appreciate you guys.
All right.
Done.